Hey people, you found the Hillbilly Voodoo channel. This here's the old fart drift cart. If you've been following along so far, you know we pretty much got it ready to go for a ride, but we did some brake work and some clutch work, and currently to have our brake locked up and our clutch locked up, we got this chunk of door wedge wood in here, and it's just not quite working for me. So today we're going to figure out how to build some type of mechanism to replace that chunk of wood to hold this lever that applies the brake on without having a door wedge in there. So stick around, we'll figure this out together, and maybe we'll be able to put this thing down on the floor and see if we can get the wheels to spin like it's going to be a drift cart. So what I'm trying to accomplish here with this wedge is this wedge holds the brake on, which also disengages the clutch so that I can start this thing without having to have hands and feet on the pedals. So that's what that door wedge is doing. It's just holding that brake like that. So my thought here is this bolt, which has got a 3/4 inch wide head on it, is just about the perfect size to hold that brake where it needs to be. So what I'm thinking is to build some type of pivot from this top hole here with something as wide as this bolt so that I can just kind of roll it around into place so that our little spacer here that holds this thing together doesn't get lost anywhere. So let's go dig around in our piles of ground obtainium and see what we can find for a piece of metal that we can maybe just weld this bolt onto, that we can flip back and forth and use as a lock lever for our brake. Yeah, that might work. So here's an idea I think might work here. I'm gonna take this piece of steel, drill a hole in it, bolt it to there, like that. Then I'm gonna take this nut and I'm gonna weld it on the back side, like that, so that that will pivot like this, up like that. And when I put it up like that, it will drop down into here. I'm gonna make it a little bit more fancy and maybe a little more ergonomic. I don't know if I'll leave this sticking out here to be a lever, or might have to clearance from the rest of it, but that's the idea so far. So we're going to drill a hole through here and we're going to weld this nut on here. We're going to make our little, I guess it'd be kind of like a little cam lock type idea thing. So let's try this out, see what we come up with, and see if it works. So this here is what I ended up coming up with. The bolt goes through this hole here. Kind of ended up a little bit more complicated than what I was originally intending, but I'm thinking it's going to work. I took the piece of steel that I originally had and drilled the hole through it. And then I took that nut and I welded it on the back side there. And I figured, well, maybe that nut wasn't quite wide enough, so I welded another nut on there. And then I made this little flappy thing here so that it will go onto the back side of the pipe there. And hopefully that this little lever will, well, I'm hoping this is going to do what I want it to. So let's stick it on here and see if we made a thing, or if we just made a thing. Stick that on there like that. No, that's not going to work like that. No, we'll have to stick that on there like that. Yeah, like that. Put that on there. I need to tighten it up fairly tight, but not so tight that I can't move it. Then I'm going to stick another jam nut on there so that I can jam it and it won't tighten itself up and it won't loosen itself up. Yeah, that'll work. Give it a little bit of slack there. Okay, let's see if this is going to work. Pull back on the brake, put this forward. That holds the brake on. How about that? Worked the first time. That's weird. So we'll pull back, I'll flip that back. Now hopefully I'll be able to reach that little lever from the seat without jumping around too much like a monkey. But it shouldn't be too bad. My arms are fairly long. Got fingers at the end of my arms, so I should be able to work that. Hey, solved another issue, I think. Until we fire it up and test her out. I'll see if I can turn the wheel by hand here. That's pretty friggin' tight, so I'm pretty sure should be tight enough. If it's not, then I can always maybe weld a little bit in here to increase that so that it pushes it out. But it's locking the brake up there really tight now, and there's no real adjustment in here anywhere, so that's about the only thing I could do. Is if I need to, I'll have to build that up with some weld or maybe stick a piece of slippery stuff in there so it slides. But yeah, it works. So cool. That's one more issue down. See what other things we can come up with to fix here that probably don't need to be fixed, but should be fixed. Here's a bit more of a wider angle of what we got going on here. That's the brake. That's our little flippy lever cam lock thing. So that's released. That means the brake is off, the wheel will spin, the clutch is engaged. As soon as we flip that back and hold that, flip that little cam lock lever down, well, that holds the brake on. The wheel's locked up, the belt is loose, and the motor can spin. See that? The motor can spin. So that keeps our clutch disengaged, keeps our brake locked. And do that, flip that. Now our wheels spin and the clutch is engaged. That's pretty cool. It's amazing the stupid things that I come up with that actually work. Kind of blows my mind. Stuff like that actually does what it's supposed to, and it's made out of ground titanium, junk I just had laying around here in the dirt. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Mounted our seat back up there now and wandered around with some wrenches in my hand and tightened up a bunch of random bolts and things that I forgot to tighten up. Found some scrap metal that I welded onto the floor and some attempt at floorboards. Hopefully my feet won't get sucked underneath this thing and have it horribly maim me. I'm thinking maybe it's at about that time where I just bite the bullet and stick it down on the floor and fire it up and see if it's going to move with my 350 pounds sitting in the seat. Yeah, well, you never know till you try, right? You know, rock out with our cock out here and see what happens. Let her down, of course, let her run. Well, let's see what we can do to make it move forward. Don't really have high hopes because I know that I'm a big dude and this is probably not the right gear ratio. So let's find out here. like I thought. I think we're gonna have to come up with a different gear ratio here. Well, I guess we got the outcome that I was expecting. Not really the outcome I was hoping for, but definitely the outcome I was expecting. I'm gonna try one more thing here. Maybe if I put a little bit more spring tension on that idler pulley so that it holds the belt a little tighter, it might grab. I'm thinking that just the gear ratio alone is not low enough to get this thing to spin. So we'll try one more thing here. See if we can get you in a position here to watch, or at least see what I'm tightening up here. And if I lift up on this, tighten that up. It'll give me a little bit more spring tension on that belt. It's pretty tight, and as you saw in the video, it was smoking like crazy, so yeah. Maybe we'll put the brake on, release that tension. Just wondering if maybe a nice layer of rubber on that pulley might help too, so yeah. I don't know. This might be a lost cause here. This idea might be a lost cause. Other than building a centrifugal clutch, because I don't have a centrifugal clutch. I'm wondering if there's a way I can build one out of the stuff I have laying around here. Well, let's get this thing fired up here again and see if that little bit of tension, or a little bit more tension on that spring, is going to help us out at all. I'll give this one more shot here. Yeah. Keep doing what you always done, you'll always get what you always got. And I'm pretty sure that even if I got out on the flat and got rolling, I still wouldn't be able to get it to drift very well. But a little bit disappointing. But when you're working with junk, sometimes that's what you end up with, is junk. She's not down for the count. I'm not giving up on it yet. So what are we going to do about this here? The problem that I'm having is that was a hell of a lot of engineering to put that in there, but it's obviously not going to work. The only way that I'm currently thinking is to build some type of jack shaft so that I can reduce the gear ratio even more, or to build a centrifugal clutch of some type that will slip until it grips. The problem with the jack shaft is there's a lot of tight space. I would kind of like to keep the brake pulley thing that we built there where it is because of all that linkage. And that belt is in line with the engine, so in order to put a jack shaft in, we're going to have to either move that primary pulley out to the jack shaft and then the jack shaft down to the other pulley. Is that making any sense? It kind of makes sense in my head. I'm going to go wander around, check things out, question my life choices. This thing's not down for the count, but I'm definitely going to have to think a little bit to come up with a solution to the problem. If you guys got any solutions that are easy, cheap, that I could probably build out of stuff that I have, you should make some comments in the comment section. If you're liking this build and you want me to keep on going with it, then you should make some comments too. If you're new to the channel, you should probably subscribe so you can keep watching this clownery. And I will try to not get discouraged and keep on going with this thing. So until I come up with a different idea here, you guys use what you got to make what you want, and I'll see you guys later.